Hey, this is Mike Long, and welcome inside the Area 51 of the world of magic. This is the second part of my video series on Pro Tour Kyoto and the real fun playtest time that Patrick Chapin and the rest of our teammates had that we got to enjoy, and it's coming into nice fruition at this point. I'm actually right now enjoying watching the live broadcast that Wizards of the Coast does on sideboard.com. It's excellent coverage. And it's really nifty. Get all the fun of the Pro Tour, and you don't have to even go there. It's the quarterfinals just finished. Very, very exciting. Kind of a classic moment in Magic as Gabriel Nassif pilots our five-color keeper deck with an amazing top deck in Game 5 to scooch into the semifinals. The other semifinal matchup is our teammate from Pro Tour Berlin champion Louis Scott Vargas, and he's squaring off against Brian Robinson, who's a Pro Tour rookie. He's from the Massachusetts area. And I'm going to be breaking down Brian's deck now. Brian's also in the semifinals. And Brian's playing a deck that I call Monsters, Inc. And this is going to be a bit of a fun video. The last video series, I talked about a deck that we have been evolving that, in a sense, began with Manuel Bucher's Quick and Toast deck at Pro Tour Hollywood, and then we evolved it and tweaked it and played it. And this deck is exciting for me to share with you because this is a bit of a new design. Although it certainly borrows from from other designs that have been out there. World champion a couple years back who beat Pat Chapin in the finals. Uri Peleg, I think is his name, played a deck that's not too dissimilar, a Doran deck. But this is fun because this will kind of take you a bit inside of the creative process, and in these videos videos and articles we're going to be preparing for you that Richard Garfield and Scaff Elias and I have envisioned for you. We're not just going to be talking about the competitive process in Magic, although we're certainly going to really try to nail that and take you inside like a real insider. But we're also going to be talking about the culture of Magic and the fun of Magic. And one of the places where culture and fun sort of intersect with the competitive environment, with the pro tournament, is when new decks are created. And, almost always that's going to happen. I mean, of course, always, every time a new set comes out, we're going to have some movement in the decks that are out there. Usually it's going to change the standard. Well, pretty much always it's going to change the standard deck significantly. And, of course, have a big effect on a lot of the other environments. And Monsters, Inc., which is the deck that Brian Robinson ended up playing, and I'm going to go through that kind of card by card with you right now, is actually the first deck in the environment, in this new environment. When they first started spoiling cards for the Conflux spoiler, this is actually the first deck that I built. One of the things that we try to do in the creative process, and I'm going to get to at least my guess as to how Brian Robinson ended up playing it, because he's not a teammate of ours. But Brian made a couple of very smart decisions. I'm going to get inside of those decisions in just a second, and now he finds himself in the semifinals and in a good position to even possibly win this pro tournament. So let's have a look here. I've got Noble Hierarch pulled up here, and the interesting thing about Noble Hierarch is that when it was spoiled, it was kind of funny. I called Patrick Chapin up, and I was just like, man, is this for real? I mean, are they really printing this card Noble Hierarch? I mean, is this really happening? And we really weren't sure for a while, because for a long time it was a rumor. It was a card that people were talking about. Hey, we think that this card exists, but we really didn't know for sure if it existed or not. And so I went ahead and decided to start designing decks with it nevertheless, because we knew in this format we were going to have very limited time. The pro tournament, this is kind of a nifty thing that they've decided to do, at least for this event, is the very first sanctioned event for this new format, for the Conflux standard format. And So we weren't going to have a bunch of different results to look through and a bunch of different deck lists to look through before we sort of cast our lot and sent our troops into the field with the best decks that we could design. And because of that, we decided to try to be a little bit edgier and really even test with cards that we didn't know if they existed or not. Now, fortunately, Noble Hierarch did end up existing. And by the way, why am I so excited about this card? Well, he's wacky, just wacky. Gosh, I don't know where to begin. I talked in the last video. We talked about the card Volcanic Fallout, my last video series, where we're following David Mills's rule, where we really like to take a very deep look at any card where it's so utterly different than any other card that's ever existed. And we just really want to kind of stop everything. And I'm going to talk about that stop everything process now, because here's a card that reminds us of Birds of Paradise, which is another card that's in this deck. In a lot of ways, it's 0/1 for 1 that's going to give us mana supply. But what the Hierarch is going to do in addition is it's also going to have this nifty Exalted mechanic. And that is exciting. That's exciting. He's going to help us bring a lot of pressure, and he's got some nice synergies with some other things we can do in the environment. And so I really wanted to kind of stop everything. He kind of reminds me of, it's not like a Glorious Anthem because it's not active all the time. Of course, it's very limited, this Exalted mechanic where you attack with a creature. As long as you're only attacking with one creature, that creature gets +1/+1. It's not like a Glorious Anthem where it sits around all the time, boosting all of your creatures and so forth. But we're getting that in addition to a card that's already just so very good. He's giving us 3 of the 5 colors, and it's just, again, I don't know any other word to use but wacky. I thought, wow, this card is really exceptional, especially, and we're kind of getting immediately to the heart of the matter here. The point of this deck is very similar to what the Doran deck that ended up beating Pat in the finals of the World Championship 2 years ago, not this last year in Memphis, but the year before that. And the main thing that deck was trying to do, the Doran deck there was trying to do, was take advantage of Doran the Seed Shower, which again is kind of a wacky creature. And one of the things we're going to dive right into is, obviously you can see we've got this plethora of gold cards. Remember, one of our important rules is that we really love gold cards, especially these 3 color cards. Those are very exciting for us, and we've got 3 sets of 3 color cards that are very important for this deck, and I'll get into all of those. I kind of fan past them for a second on the screen, but in that Doran deck, a lot of what the guy was able to do was just basically cast a turn 2 Doran, and there you go, whammo, he's a 5/5. Well, this deck really takes that idea to a new level, to kind of an exciting new level. I realized that Rock's War Monk had been printed. Now, we saw a little bit of play in Rock's War Monk from Gabriel Nassif's version of 5 color that our buddy and teammate Jamie Park and Miser Jamie Park used to muscle his way into the finals of Worlds in Memphis this year. But that was more of a control deck. Obviously, that's very different than what we're trying to do here. And this deck utilizes Rock's War Monk in a very different way. What we have is, between our 4 Dorans, our 4 Rock's War Monks, and it's certainly not as good to play a turn 2 Kitchen Finks. Actually, in the final version that we came up with, and I'll get into those magical decisions that our friend Brian Robinson made, and that quite certainly helped land him, very much powered his way into the semifinals, and who knows, by the time you watch this video, he may be a champion. This is a card that we did not have in the main deck that he added. We had the Ram Gang, the 3/3 haste creature for 3 mana, which is also a fine call for this deck. But I love his call with Kitchen Finks here. I think he did a great job adding that to the deck. So primarily what we're trying to do is cast either Hierarch, ideally, it's much better, or Birds of Paradise is still quite very good on the first turn, and then second turn, whammo, welcome to Doran, welcome to Rock's War Monk, or potentially, could be Kitchen Finks. But any of those things, we're really going to be putting a ton of pressure on our opponent right away, especially if we're casting off Noble Hierarch. In fact, we can be attacking for 14 damage on turn 3, if the cards kind of come up right. I'll explain how that can happen.